Hello and welcome to our sampler tutorial video. And here we are going to be continuing our adventure, or our endeavor in MIDI files and MIDI introduction, or just continuing to work with MIDI files in general. In this project, we are going to be creating samplers, or it's a plugin that will be able to play MIDI files, and it's pretty detailed. For example, at the end of this project, students will be able to understand what a plugin is and where they are in Logic Pro, understand how to navigate to the plugin options on each track, understand how to choose the sampler plugin that we'll be using, understand the difference between pitched and unpitched sounds, understand how to create a custom sampler, understand how to input audio into the sampler plugin and save a custom setting, as well as understand how to assign specific sounds to specific keys. Some previously learned skills that we are going to be using in this project include how to import and export audio files into Logic, as well as how to get files onto your workstation through either AirDrop or Google Drive, how to access plugin options from our synthesizer project, and how to clean audio up using our editing functions that we did with way back when we created a sample, which is different from a sampler. The criteria for this project, you're going to be creating two different samplers. One is going to be a melodic sampler that can play a melody because it's got a pitched sound to it, and the other one is a percussion sampler which will be able to play percussion drum beats and through a combination of various unpitched samples or recordings. Each sampler must present the requirements to be considered a melodic or percussive sampler. You need to upload an audio file to your samples being used to play you need to upload an audio file at the end of it, which uses your samples being used to play a MIDI file. The melodic sampler, you are to record a sound from your environment that is pitched. This pitch will be what you will be using to turning into a melodic sampler by uploading it to the sampler plugin to the appropriate key. The percussion sampler, you are to record a minimum of 6 different sounds that are unpitched in nature. Each individual sound will then be used to replace an element of a drum kit by assigning them to the appropriate key in the sampler. So, I've said this a few times, there's a difference between pitched and unpitched sounds. And the real difference is that, the difference between pitched sounds and unpitched sounds are that pitched sounds create sound waves in an orderly fashion, which our ears and brain interpret as a tone or a pitch. Unpitched sounds are unorganized with no noticeable tone associated with it. And what that might look like, if I go into Logic, I can turn on this. This is our EQ, equalizer. And I've got the analyzer on, so you can actually see the sound waves that Logic is picking up. As I'm speaking, you can see that my pitch is right around here. Right, so these are the two. You might be wondering why there are two pitches that you can hear. And I'll talk about that in a second. But if I were to whistle, there's one pitch that pops up. Or let's go lower. So you can see that there's one sound wave and it's organized. It stays there. It's a pitch note because there's an organized sound wave with it. If I were to clap, as you can see, there's just a swash of sound. It's completely unorganized. Now, with my voice, you can see that there's multiple different sound waves being heard at the same time, and that doesn't mean necessarily that it's unpitched. There's pitch and tone when we're speaking, but we naturally change the pitch and tone as we speak so that we don't sound like a robot as we speak. If I were to sing a note, Ooh. You can visually see that there's multiple different peaks, which is different from my whistle, which only has one. So, the question is, what's going on here? Ooh. What you're actually seeing is the harmonic overtone series, which is present in pitched sounds. I can go on, gosh, for probably 2 or 3 different lectures on just the harmonic overtone series. It's got a lot of mathematical elements to it. The Fibonacci sequence is inherently within that harmonic overtone series. Every single musical instrument that you've ever heard has an element of the harmonic overtone series. The harmonic overtone series is probably the foundation of pitch. Even as we whistle, the louder I whistle, you can see that there's another pitch peak up here because it's a higher frequency. But at the higher the frequencies, the tighter and closer they get together. So it becomes a little bit more difficult. But that's the difference between pitched and unpitched. There's an orderly fashion. There's an orderly element to pitch, as you can see from ooh compared to, and that's what we need to keep in mind as we are searching for pitched and unpitched sounds. Matching pitch. When we're dealing with a melodic sampler, we need to match the pitch of our sound that we have captured and place it in the appropriate key in the sampler. As I do the walkthrough, I'm going to stress this because if you don't do it right, the entire sampler will be shifted off key. And if you want it to interact with other plugins appropriately and in a symbiotic relationship, in an orderly fashion, you have to make sure that that initial key is the accurate key. Probably the easiest way for you to do that is to ask me for help. So when it comes time to figuring out what key to assign the initial key, I will give you the correct pitch. All right. MIDI percussion assignments. When we get to the percussion sampler, you will be referencing a list that I'll be sharing with you in the Google Classroom of what your percussion assignments, what key those percussion assignments are going to be. And yeah, I think that's it from there. Let's dive into it. We're going to start off, I'm going to break this video up into 2 different segments. So we're going to work on our melodic pitched sampler first, and then we're going to take a break. Going to have you guys kind of catch up on that. And then after you have finished, there's going to be a second video, which is going to be just the walkthrough on the percussion sampler, because there's a little bit more tedious work to get through when it comes to the percussion sampler than there is in the melodic sampler. So let's dive into it. Into Logic, I'm going to close my EQ, and I have already recorded a whole bunch of sounds. This is going to be my unpitched percussion that I went around school and captured the audio. Some locks being locked, and then light switches being switched, and other things. For my pitched percussion, I actually went, I do want you guys to think creatively in terms of a pitched sound that is not a musical instrument. I plucked a guitar string, but not the guitar string that you would pluck to play. Above the nut on a guitar, there are strings that are pulled tight, and they have an unorganized pitch, but I thought it would be interesting to try it. So it sounds like this. It doesn't really sound like a guitar. And as you can see, I recorded it a few times because I tried different places to record to see if I can find a better place to get a quality sound. And I've already listened to this, and this last one is probably going to be the one I'm going to use. Take a look. So what I'm going to do, I know that this is my pitched percussion that I want to use. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit it. When it comes to editing, getting ready for a sampler, you want to cut right at the beginning of the note. So if I zoom in here, you can see right here there's an instant start. If you leave any form of gap at the beginning of that pitch, when you go to play a note on the sampler, there's going to be some awkward silence before it starts. And if you're playing a musical instrument, you don't want silence when you push down a key. You want instant reaction, an instant sound. So I'm going to go here. Remember, when we want to cut, we want to turn our cursor to the crosshair. So we bring it down to the bottom half. You might have two sound waves showing, so you want to go to the bottom sound wave. And I'm going to cut right closer. I got to zoom in. You can zoom in all the way and cut right there. So now I have this sound wave, and I want to go to the end to where it kind of ends. And cut. It's probably best practice to leave the unedited guys where they are and just drag the one you want to work with into a new new file, not a new file, new track. But there's my pitch, and now I have it edited. I'm ready to import it into my sampler. So I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to create a software instrument track. So here's my software instrument track. I moved it to the top, and I need to change. I'm going over here. This is my plugin. So keep in mind, remember that the left track, the left channel shows me my track channel. The right channel is my master output. So we're only really dealing with the left here, and I'm going to change my plugin from Vintage Electric Piano. I'm going to go to EXS24 Sampler. I'm going to click on that, and here we have a lot. It looks similar to the synthesizer. It has waveforms, and that deals with something else. We're not going to be dealing with that right now. Attack, decay, sustain, and release. We're not going to be dealing with that either. What we're going to be dealing with is, right now, it's blank. So if I were to play a note, it defaults to a sine wave because there's nothing there. And we need to add my audio clip right here into the sampler. And by doing that, we are going to go over to here to the Edit button, and we're going to click Edit. And this window pops up. You can see there's a keyboard, and it doesn't do anything. There's this window here, and it's waiting for me to upload recorded sounds. And so I literally just click, hold, and drag it in and drop it. For me, it did not ask what pitch I wanted to import it in. And it might not do that for you. It might. When we go into the pitched percussion, it's definitely going to ask you what pitch you want to upload it in, and we'll get into that later. But right now, I have to figure out what note this is. Somewhere, at some point, somebody in the past found the tuner in here. I've tried to look for it, can't find it. If we find it at some point, I'll tell you guys about that. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another software instrument track. Just going to leave that there. Software instrument track, and find the pitch that is closest to this. And I think that's it. It's going to be E4. So I have my E, but it's in the 4th octave. So I'm going to go back to this window right here, and I'm going to, on this track right here, right after the file name, it tells me what key is the original key that the pitch is assigned to. So there it is. C3 is the default pitch, but I want to move this to E4. And now C3 is not playing the original recording. Up here, E4 is. After I do that, it will automatically adjust all the pitches in order for me to play a melody. And I have myself a melodic sampler. I'm going to X out of this window. It's going to ask me if I want to save, and you definitely want to save. You're going to save it as Melodic Sampler. Your initials. Save. And now you see that it comes up in this little window here. Later on, if you save it appropriately, you can access it under all the different options that we have here. I think I have some old ones from old projects that will not have anything yet because the original WAV file is gone. I think the chicken is still there. Alright, can get carried away from there. Yeah, I think that's all I have here. But going back, let's go back to Melodic Sampler, JG. And there I have my Melodic Sampler. So go ahead, get caught up with this. Review this video if you need any help in terms of you got lost and can't figure out where to go. And again, if you get really lost, just flag me down. Once you have it saved, once you have your melodic sampler saved, go ahead and watch the second video, which will be walking you through the percussion sampler, which is a whole different process. All right, good luck.